Hi, my name is Leslie Carver, and I'll be a senior at Campbellsville University here in the fall. I grew up in Oregon. Well, I was born in Oregon, and shortly following after my first birthday, we moved to Kentucky because of my father's work. So at a very young age, I learned to value my family because all my family lives out west. I grew up in a Christian home with 3 other siblings and with 2 parents who publicly displayed their love for the Lord. My dad was a worship leader, and my mom did a lot of the stuff with the women's ministry, and they also did dramas and skits and musicals. And I could see, growing up, I knew and could see that their joy and happiness came from the Lord. And so at the same time, I felt like I was in the same place as them. I was happy and all that because of the Lord. But it wasn't until about my 2nd grade year of school when I was in children's church with my Kentucky grandmother, and she was teaching us in Sunday school the 10 Commandments. And it was then that I really realized that being a Christian was more than just doing good deeds for people. It's about having a relationship with Christ. And that God wanted that special relationship with me that was just between Him and I. That, you know, He loved me so much that He sent His only Son to die on the cross for all my sins, all my wrongdoings. And so I decided to accept God into my life and know that it was more than just being sweet little Leslie growing up, but realizing that it was that God was there to be my best friend and to help me not only through the good times but the bad times as well. So I accepted Christ into my life because I was fully ready to give my entire heart to Him. Life continued, and it wasn't until about my 8th or 9th grade year where my story really began. I was at a point in my life where the reality of disease and suffering was sinking in. At this time, my father's health got pretty bad, and he had a lot of surgeries, and we didn't know what the outcomes were going to be. And at the same time, my grandmother, my Kentucky grandmother, was diagnosed with breast cancer for the 3rd time. And so during this time, I learned the severity of both of their cases, and I got really angry with God. I didn't know why He was doing this to 2 people who just loved Him so much, and I didn't understand why He was doing that to them. And more selfishly, I didn't understand why God was doing that to me. Also at the same time, I realized that I was losing a lot of friends to like freak accidents and diseases and stuff, and family friends, and it was just really hard. So I was learning to grieve at a really young age, and sometimes it wasn't going so great. But at that point, I really realized that my relationship with God and my faith and trust in God wasn't where it needed to be. And so, just like a disease when you're physically sick, I started to realize that I was spiritually sick. I knew there was a cure, but until I had the effort to engage into that treatment, I wasn't going to be cured or helped. And so, then I decided that I was going to try the treatment, and I gave God my whole heart and decided to trust Him. And He brought my dad through those surgeries and many more of the surgery he's gone through, and He brought my grandmother through that 3rd time of breast cancer. And so, I started to put more trust in God, knowing that the outcomes He was going to help me through, and that any obstacle that came in my path. I began to find peace in knowing that God was in control of my outcomes that were going on around me, but then I was affected personally when God challenged me with my own sickness. It started in October of my senior year when I went up for a header against a giant. I somehow won it, landed on my middle of my back, and I blacked out. I continued to play, thought everything was okay, but the next day things weren't okay. I was doubled over in pain, and I had to be rushed to the hospital. They ran some tests, and things came back all right. Life continued, but things weren't okay. I started to lose a lot of weight. I lost 25 pounds in a week, and I couldn't hold things down, but I kept going out for soccer teams and trying to keep up with my senior year of schoolwork. And about a week before prom, I gained all that weight back, and it's just been a vicious cycle like that for the last going on 5 years now. I've been to many doctors for my condition. I had my gallbladder removed in January in hopes of finding a cure, but it only helped a little bit. But my episodes can hit at any moment now, and it feels like a knife stabbed me in the back and someone's slowly turning it, and then someone's in the front knocking the air out of me. It's been a process learning my boundaries and when to take medicine or when to do things to help the process. But I can't give up hope on finding a cure. It could be the simplest thing causing my body to react this way. And it's the same for my spiritual life. It really was something simple to fix, to spend more time with God, and just know that He's the creator and control over my entire life. He knows what I'm going through. Even when I lost my grandmother a couple months ago to breast cancer for the 5th time, she went to be with the Lord, and just a lot of more obstacles in my life. But over the last 5 years, probably the hardest thing is trying to be me through my sickness. It's been very hard and it's still a process, but I know God's given me another day to live, and so I'm going to use the time He gives me to show people that He is my reason for being here and that He's my strength. And I'm learning just to give everything to God in the good times and the bad, and just to rely on Him to give me all my strength. As you can tell, I'm certainly not perfect, but I know that in God's eyes, I'm His beautiful artwork that is being molded into the young woman He wants me to be. I may be physically sick, but I'm living proof that there is a cure for being spiritually sick.